The Dershow.
Judge Marchant and Alvin Bragg are trying to manipulate the system so that they can get a sentence down and dirty a week or so, just a little bit more than a week before he becomes president. So he becomes a convicted felon president. Again, let me remind you that under the law, you're not convicted until you're sentenced. They can say that a jury found him guilty, but the actual conviction becomes operative only upon sentencing. And that's a two-edged sword. Number one, it means he can't appeal until he's sentenced, and he hasn't been able to appeal. I think if he had been able to appeal, he would have, and very likely by this time the conviction would have been reversed. But in addition to that, you can't call him a convicted felon. Everybody does, but that's not right. He's not a convicted felon until he's sentenced. The judge, understanding that he's to be the president of the United States, has said he's not going to sentence him to jail or to probation or to home arrest or anything like that. He's going to let him go free, but he's going to be sure that he is a convicted felon, even though nobody can describe what he's been convicted of. I've asked so many people, lawyers and others, all right, what was he convicted of? And then, they start saying, well, there was this misdemeanor. Well, it really wasn't a misdemeanor because he didn't do anything wrong. He listed a payment of $100,000 to a lawyer for a woman who was making an accusation which he believed was false to settle the case, and he listed it, or some secretary who was filling out the forms listed it as a legal expense, which is what I would have done, and I think what any reasonable person would have done. It was a legal expense. It wasn't a vacation. It wasn't to buy a new car. It was a legal expense to settle a lawsuit. So, so wait a minute. It was a misdemeanor, but it wasn't really a misdemeanor, but it was barred by the statute of limitations. But wait a minute. If he did it, if he filed it as a legal expense in order 2 years later to take it as a tax deduction, which he didn't do, well, maybe he had an intent to commit another crime when he was committing the non-crime. And if he had this intent to commit another crime, then it avoids the statute of limitations, turns it into a felony, and allows him to be convicted of 34 felonies because he wrote the same thing down 34 times. People think he committed 34 different crimes. The same crime committed 34 different times. So, the notion